Washington, D.C., March 22nd, 1950. Inside FBI headquarters, a single sheet of paper arrived on the desk of Director J. Edgar Hoover. No emergency meeting, no flashing headlines, no national announcement, just one routine memorandum, typed by Special Agent Guy Hottel. At first glance, it looked no different from thousands of other reports moving through government offices every year. But hidden within its brief paragraphs was an extraordinary story. According to information that had reached the FBI, 3 mysterious flying discs had allegedly been recovered in New Mexico. Inside them, witnesses supposedly found small humanoid bodies, unlike anything known to science. The memo never claimed FBI agents had seen the objects. It never stated the story had been verified. Yet decades later, when the document was declassified and released to the public, it became one of the FBI's most viewed files. To some, it was proof the government had hidden the truth. To others, it was nothing more than an unverified rumor preserved in an official archive. So what is the truth? Tonight, we reopen one of the most famous FBI documents in UFO history. Not to prove aliens exist, not to dismiss the mystery, but to follow the evidence, exactly where it leads. Because in every investigation, facts matter more than headlines. And sometimes, the greatest mystery is not what a document says, but what people believe it says. Welcome to MrPhantom Files. Every declassified document tells a story. Some reveal forgotten history, others create mysteries that continue for generations. Tonight's investigation focuses on a single FBI memorandum written on March 22nd, 1950. Known today as the Guy Hottel Memo, it is one of the most discussed UFO-related documents ever released by the FBI. For years, it has been cited as evidence of recovered alien spacecraft, but the FBI has consistently stated that the memo records an unverified report and does not confirm the recovery of extraterrestrial craft or beings. So how did one page become one of the most debated government documents in modern history? Who first told the story? Why did the FBI keep the report? And why does the debate continue more than 70 years later? Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and reopen the file. The investigation begins now. Before we can understand the Guy Hottel Memo, we need to understand the America in which it was written. The Second World War had ended only a few years earlier. A new conflict, the Cold War, was rapidly reshaping the world. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in an intense competition. New aircraft, rocket technology, radar systems, and classified military projects filled the skies with unfamiliar machines. For ordinary Americans, not everything flying overhead could be easily identified. Strange lights, unusual aircraft, experimental technology, all became part of everyday conversation. At the same time, science fiction captured the public imagination. Stories of visitors from other worlds filled magazines, radio programs, and movie theaters. The country was entering an era where mystery and technology often overlapped. And soon, one event would change public perception forever. June 24th, 1947. High above the Cascade Mountains of Washington state, private pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying his small aircraft on what seemed like a routine trip. The weather was clear. Visibility was excellent. Then, something unusual caught his attention. Off in the distance, 9 bright objects raced across the sky. They weren't moving like conventional airplanes. Arnold later described their motion as being similar to a saucer skipping across water. That single comparison, repeated by newspapers across the country, gave birth to a phrase that would define an entire era: flying saucers. Within days, newspapers from coast to coast were filled with reports of mysterious objects in the sky. People who had never spoken publicly before now believed they had seen something similar. Pilots, police officers, military personnel, farmers, ordinary families. Reports poured into newspapers, military bases, and government offices. Some sightings were eventually explained. Others lacked enough evidence to reach any conclusion. But one thing was certain: America had become fascinated by the possibility that something unknown was flying overhead, and that fascination would soon lead to one of history's most famous mysteries. Only a few weeks after Kenneth Arnold's sighting, another story captured the world's attention. This time, the location was Roswell, New Mexico. In July 1947, officials from the nearby Roswell Army Airfield issued an astonishing press release. It announced that personnel had recovered a flying disc. The headline spread rapidly across newspapers, but within hours, the story changed. Military officials withdrew the statement. The recovered object, they said, was not a flying saucer. It was a weather balloon. For many Americans, the explanation ended the story. For others, it marked the beginning of decades of speculation. In the years that followed, Roswell became the center of countless books, television specials, and conspiracy theories. It is important to understand one key fact. The Guy Hottel Memo never mentions Roswell by name. It only refers to New Mexico. Because of that, many people later assumed the memo was describing the Roswell incident. But no historical evidence has established a direct connection between the two. That distinction is one of the most misunderstood aspects of the entire case. By the late 1940s, reports of strange aerial objects were arriving from every corner of the United States. Citizens wrote letters, pilots submitted reports, military officers shared observations. Many of those reports eventually reached federal agencies, including the FBI. But this often creates a misunderstanding. Receiving a report did not mean the FBI believed it. Government agencies routinely collected tips, witness statements, and intelligence from many sources. Their job was to document information, assess its credibility, and determine whether further investigation was necessary. Some reports were quickly explained. Some were forwarded to other agencies. Others were simply filed because there was not enough evidence to verify them. This was standard investigative procedure. The Bureau was recording information, not confirming extraordinary claims. That distinction would become critically important when one unusual report reached the Washington field office in 1950. Long before his name became associated with UFO mysteries, Guy Hottel was simply an experienced FBI official. He served as the special agent in charge of the FBI's Washington field office. His responsibilities were broad: managing investigations, supervising agents, forwarding information to FBI headquarters. Like countless officials throughout government, he wrote memoranda every week. Most were never seen by the public. Most were forgotten almost immediately. There is no evidence that Hottel considered the memo he wrote on March 22, 1950, to be extraordinary. To him, it was simply another internal communication. A brief summary of information that had reached the Bureau. No interviews, no recovered spacecraft, no direct investigation by the FBI. Just a report, passed from one source to another, filed according to standard procedure. Nothing suggested that this routine memorandum would one day become one of the most discussed FBI documents ever released. March 22, 1950. Inside the FBI's Washington field office, it began like any other working day. Agents reviewed intelligence reports. Typewriters echoed through the hallways. Stacks of memoranda moved from one desk to another. Among those routine papers, one brief document was prepared by Special Agent Guy Hottel, addressed to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. There were no warning stamps suggesting an extraordinary discovery. No indication that the document contained verified evidence. It was simply an internal memorandum, just one page long. Yet hidden inside those few paragraphs was a story that would survive for generations, not because investigators confirmed it, but because history never forgot it. The memorandum summarized information that had reached the Bureau. According to the report, an investigator connected with the Air Force had supposedly received information about an unusual recovery in New Mexico. The report claimed 3 flying discs had allegedly been recovered. Each object was described as circular, approximately 50 feet in diameter, with a raised center. Then came the detail that would capture worldwide attention. According to the report, each disc allegedly contained 3 small humanoid bodies. They were described as being about 3 feet tall, dressed in what appeared to be a fine metallic fabric. It sounded unbelievable. Even today, those few sentences remain among the most quoted passages in UFO history. But there is something equally important that many people overlook. The memo never says the FBI witnessed any of it. It never says the Air Force confirmed any of it. It simply records that someone reported the story. That difference changes everything. Every investigation begins with one question: where did the information come from? When historians examined the memo carefully, they noticed something significant. The document did not identify an eyewitness. Instead, it described a chain of communication. According to the memo, an Air Force investigator had reportedly heard the story from another individual. That information was then passed along. Eventually, it reached the FBI. With every person added to the chain, the possibility of misunderstanding increased. Investigators understand this well. First-hand evidence and second-hand information are not treated the same. Neither are third-hand reports. That is why intelligence agencies evaluate both the source and the information itself. In the Guy Hottel memo, the original source remains unknown, and that uncertainty has followed the document ever since. Many people assume that if an agency keeps a document, it must believe the story inside. But government investigations rarely work that way. The FBI receives thousands of reports every year. Some become major investigations. Others are quickly disproven. Many are simply documented because preserving information is part of the investigative process. Agents cannot know whether a report is accurate until it is evaluated. That is why official archives contain everything from confirmed evidence to tips, rumors, witness statements, and claims that are never verified. The Guy Hottel memo remained in FBI files, not because it proved anything, but because it was information that had been received and formally recorded. Understanding that distinction is essential to understanding the document itself. Another misunderstanding surrounds the role of the FBI. Many people believe the Bureau led America's UFO investigations. In reality, the primary responsibility eventually shifted to the United States Air Force, beginning with Project Sign in 1948, followed by Project Grudge, and later, Project Blue Book. These programs collected thousands of UFO reports from across the country. Scientists, military officers, and investigators examined sightings in an effort to determine their cause. Some reports were explained as balloons, others as aircraft, astronomical objects, or natural atmospheric phenomena. A small number remained unidentified, simply because there wasn't enough reliable information to reach a conclusion. The Guy Hottel memo was never presented as verified evidence by these Air Force programs. Instead, it remained what it had always been, an FBI memorandum, recording an unverified report. The memo had now entered the FBI's archives. No investigation confirmed its extraordinary claims. No official announcement followed. For decades, the document sat quietly, almost forgotten, until a new century, and the internet brought it back to life. Once the memorandum reached FBI headquarters, its journey appeared to end. No nationwide investigation was announced. No recovery teams were dispatched. No photographs accompanied the report. No physical evidence was catalogued. The document was simply filed, alongside thousands of other memoranda that arrived at the Bureau every year. Weeks became months. Months became years. Years became decades. The world changed. The Cold War intensified. Humanity reached the moon. Computers replaced typewriters. New generations grew up. And deep inside government archives, the Guy Hottel memo quietly gathered dust. Almost no one remembered it, until the digital age brought forgotten files back into the light. For more than 60 years, the public rarely saw documents like the Guy Hottel memo. Then, in 2011, the FBI launched an online archive called The Vault. Its purpose was simple: to provide public access to thousands of declassified FBI records. The archive included files covering famous criminals, historical investigations, Cold War espionage, civil rights cases, and unusual reports that had become part of FBI history. Among those millions of pages, one single memo unexpectedly attracted worldwide attention: the Guy Hottel Memo. Within days, it became one of the most viewed documents in the entire archive, not because the FBI promoted it, not because new evidence had been discovered, but because millions of people were fascinated by one extraordinary paragraph. The internet had rediscovered a document that history had almost forgotten. As the memo spread across the internet, many articles focused on only a few dramatic sentences. 3 flying discs recovered. Small humanoid bodies found. Those headlines traveled faster than the document itself. Videos appeared across YouTube. Websites repeated the claims. Social media posts reached millions of viewers. But something important was often missing: context. Many people never read the memo from beginning to end. Instead, they read headlines, watched short clips, or relied on secondhand summaries slowly. The original document became overshadowed by the stories people told about it. And with every retelling, the line between documented history and speculation became increasingly blurred. As public interest continued to grow, the FBI addressed the memo directly. The Bureau explained that the document does not confirm the existence of extraterrestrial spacecraft. It does not verify the recovery of alien bodies. Instead, it records an unverified report that reached the FBI through other sources. According to the Bureau, there was no follow-up investigation that confirmed the extraordinary claims described in the memorandum. This clarification surprised many readers. Some accepted it immediately. Others believed important details were still being withheld. The debate continued, not because the document had changed, but because different people interpreted the same words in different ways. Professional historians approach documents differently than internet headlines. Before accepting any extraordinary claim, they ask a series of questions. Who wrote the document? Where did the information originate? Can the claim be independently verified? Are there eyewitness accounts? Do other official records support the story? When those questions were applied to the Guy Hottel memo, researchers reached an important conclusion. The memo itself is unquestionably authentic. But authenticity of a document is not the same as authenticity of the events it describes. Historians therefore classify the memo as a genuine FBI record containing an unverified report. That careful distinction has become central to every serious discussion of the document. The memo had become famous. The internet had transformed it into a global mystery. But another question still remained. If the report wasn't verified, where did the original story actually begin? And could investigators ever trace it back to its true source? Every investigation eventually reaches a point where the trail begins to fade. For the Guy Hottel memo, that point is the original source. The memo describes information, not an investigation. It tells us that an Air Force investigator reportedly received a story, which was then passed to another source, before finally reaching the FBI. But who witnessed the alleged recovery? No name appears in the memorandum. No signed statement exists. No interview transcript has ever been released. Investigators searched military archives, government correspondence, and historical records. Yet no independent document has ever surfaced that confirms the alleged recovery described in the memo. Without a first-hand witness or physical evidence, the story remains impossible to verify. And in historical investigations, verification is everything. To many people, the existence of an FBI document suggests certainty. But intelligence agencies work differently. Their responsibility is to collect information, not simply confirmed facts. During the Cold War, federal agencies received thousands of tips from citizens, military personnel, scientists, and anonymous sources. Some reports proved accurate. Others were misunderstandings. Many could never be verified. Rather than discard every unusual claim, investigators preserved the information. Recording a report did not mean endorsing it. It meant creating a record, in case future evidence gave it new significance. The Guy Hottel memo fits that pattern. It survives today, not because investigators confirmed the story, but because they documented it. While the FBI occasionally received unusual reports, the United States Air Force became the primary agency responsible for investigating UFO sightings, beginning with Project Sign, then Project Grudge, and later the well-known Project Blue Book. Over the next 2 decades, thousands of reports were examined. Investigators compared eyewitness accounts, radar data, weather conditions, astronomical observations, and military flight records. Many sightings were identified as aircraft, weather balloons, planets, meteorological phenomena, or optical illusions. Some cases simply lacked enough evidence to reach a firm conclusion. Importantly, the Guy Hottel memo was never treated by Project Blue Book as verified evidence of recovered extraterrestrial craft. It remained what it had always been, an unverified report preserved in FBI records. Most government memoranda disappear into history. The Guy Hottel memo didn't. Why? Because it sits at the intersection of 3 powerful ideas: government secrecy, unidentified flying objects, and the possibility of life beyond Earth. Each generation viewed the document differently. In the 1950s, it was simply another archived memorandum. By the 1970s, public interest in UFOs had exploded. Books, television specials, and witness accounts brought renewed attention to unexplained aerial phenomena. Then came the internet. A single scanned page could now reach millions of people within hours. The memo never changed. Only the audience did. And with every new reader, the mystery grew. By this point in the investigation, it is important to separate what is known from what is believed. Here are the documented facts. The memo is authentic. It was written by Guy Hottel. It is dated March 22, 1950. It records a report describing alleged recovered flying discs in New Mexico. Those facts are supported by the document itself. Now, here is what has not been established. There is no verified evidence confirming the recovery. No authenticated photographs. No recovered craft. No publicly available physical evidence. No independent eyewitness testimony confirming the event described in the memo. That distinction matters because extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and after more than 70 years, that evidence has not emerged. The investigation was nearing its conclusion, but one final question remained. Why does a single page still inspire debate across the world, more than 7 decades after it was written? There is a reason the Guy Hottel memo continues to capture attention. It isn't just about flying discs or mysterious bodies. It's about something deeper. For centuries, humanity has looked toward the night sky, wondering if we are truly alone. Every unexplained light, every unusual radar contact, every forgotten government document becomes part of that larger question. Psychologists describe this as pattern seeking, our tendency to connect incomplete pieces of information into a meaningful story. That doesn't mean the mystery is false, nor does it make it true. It simply reminds us that curiosity is one of humanity's strongest instincts. The Guy Hottel memo became powerful, not because it answered the question, but because it kept the question alive. History has changed before. Forgotten records have resurfaced. Lost photographs have been discovered. Government files once considered classified have eventually become public. Because of that, responsible investigators rarely say never. Instead, they ask a different question. What does the evidence show today? Today, the available historical evidence does not verify the events described in the Guy Hottel memo. Could future discoveries change that understanding? Possibly. History is always open to new evidence, but until such evidence appears, responsible conclusions must be based on the records we already have. In investigation, possibility is not proof, and unanswered questions are not confirmed facts. The greatest value of the Guy Hottel memo has nothing to do with aliens at all. Instead, it teaches us how historical investigations work. Official documents preserve information. Researchers test that information. Evidence determines whether claims survive scrutiny. Without that process, history becomes rumor, and rumor becomes accepted as fact. The memo reminds us to read beyond headlines, to ask where information came from, to distinguish between a document and the truth of the story recorded inside it. That lesson applies not only to UFO investigations, but to every historical mystery. More than 70 years after it was written, the Guy Hottel Memo remains one of the most recognized FBI documents connected to UFO history. Not because it settled the debate, but because it refused to disappear. It has inspired documentaries, books, podcasts, academic discussions, and countless conversations across the internet. For believers, it remains an intriguing clue. For skeptics, it demonstrates why evidence must always come before conclusions. For historians, it is something else entirely. A genuine government memorandum, preserving an extraordinary claim without confirming that the claim was true. That distinction is its true legacy. Tonight, we reopened a forgotten file. We followed its journey from a routine FBI memorandum to one of the most discussed documents in UFO history. We examined its claims, its historical context, its chain of sources, and the evidence that exists today. Some questions were answered. Others remain unresolved. The document is authentic. The claims inside it remain unverified. That is where the historical record stands. And until stronger evidence emerges, that is where responsible investigation must also stand, because every great mystery deserves curiosity, but every conclusion must be earned by evidence. Tonight, we reopened a forgotten FBI file. We traced its origins, examined its claims, and separated documented history from decades of speculation. The Guy Hottel Memo remains one of the most famous declassified documents ever released by the FBI. Not because it proves extraterrestrial life, but because it reminds us how easily an unverified report can become a global mystery. Perhaps the answers were never hidden inside this memo. Perhaps they were never hidden at all. Or perhaps somewhere inside another forgotten archive, another document still waits to be discovered. Until that day, the Guy Hottel Memo remains exactly what history tells us it is: a genuine FBI memorandum, recording an extraordinary claim without confirming that the claim was ever true. And that may be the most fascinating part of the entire story. Thank you for joining MrPhantom Files. If you enjoy documentaries exploring declassified government files, unsolved mysteries, and the stories hidden behind history's most controversial documents, subscribe and join us for the next investigation. Because every forgotten file, every classified report, and every unanswered question brings us one step closer to understanding the unknown. Until the next case, keep questioning, keep investigating, and remember, the truth isn't always hidden. Sometimes it's simply waiting for someone willing to read the evidence carefully.